This week's video is brought to you by the generous donations from Heroes of the Empire, Captain Matthew Nicholson, and I'm just happy to be a stormtrooper, Adam Jordan. The Empire thanks you for your service. Mighty Joe Young. Directed by Ron Underwood. Based on the 1949 RKO classic by Marion C. Cooper, the man behind the seminal simian masterpiece, 1933's King Kong, which would inspire everything from Tomoyuki Tanaka's Godzilla to Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park. Originally intended as a summer blockbuster, Mighty Joe Young was moved to a Christmas release due to Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin's Godzilla. Mighty Joe wasn't the only film the King of Monsters made a monkey of, however. Interestingly, to avoid a case of Godzilla vs. King Kong at the box office, Peter Jackson's plans for Kong were put on hold until after he successfully completed his Lord of the Rings trilogy, as the studio felt Godzilla, Mighty Joe Young, and King Kong would oversaturate the theaters with, quote, giant monster films in 1998. Our story begins like most cheery family films, with a death in the family. What is it with kid movies and slaughtering parents? I guess since James Horner did the score, you know right away you're in for a little tragedy. Come to think of it, Jill Young and Joe are set up with a pretty good superhero backstory, seeing as how their parents both died when he was a little Mighty Joe Youngling, so to speak, killed by the villainous poacher Strasser and his sidekick Garth.
Lord Garth!
12 years later, we meet our hero of the picture, played by discount Dennis Quaid, Bill Paxton, who is searching for the legendary giant ape, Engizamo, with the help of the Indian guy from Short Circuit and his group of dubious hunter pals.
These guys wouldn't be poachers. I asked for experienced trackers.
Although, to be fair, poachers by trade have to be highly experienced trackers, all while evading the fuzz no less. So, respect the skills, Paxton. Respect the skills. Back to the movie. While Discount Quaid and his team head out on their safari, they come face to face with the biggest Magilla of them all, who proceeds to go ape on our stalwart adventurers for capturing a leopard. He is the protector of the innocent, defender of the weak, and all-around good guy, Mighty Joe Young. And right away you can tell he means monkey business. After letting the cat out of the bag, or cage in this case, Joe Bananas splits and it's on like Donkey Kong, in a thrilling sequence that harkens back to Hatari or the dinosaur capture scene from the Lost World Jurassic Park, as Paxton tries to capture the mighty mountain of monkey muscle that is Joe. Through a combination of artistry, craftsmanship, and groundbreaking technology, the filmmakers utilize the latest in practical and digital effects to bring Joe to life on the big screen. The task of creating the animatronic gorilla suits fell to special effects makeup designer Rick Baker and his team at Cinovation Studios, who previously worked on Gorillas in the Mist in 1988, while the digital Joe was left to DreamQuest Images and the special effects wizards at ILM. Fun fact, motion capture of infant chimpanzees running and jumping were used to lend more believability to Joe's movements during the exciting chase scenes. In addition to the complex creature suits, 3 full-size animatronic versions of Joe were also created by Rick Baker and his team. One on all fours, one seated, and one lying on its back. Veteran ape suit performer John Alexander portrayed Joe on screen. Just one of many gorilla performances over his long and distinguished career, including Greystoke, The Legend of Tarzan, Gorillas in the Mist, Baby's Day Out, Congo, Fierce Creatures, and Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes. Alexander performed in a miniature set surrounded by blue screens. Later, special effects wizards at DreamQuest Images would composite his performance with his fellow actors in order to create the illusion of Joe's towering, massive presence. While the big ape destroyed their vehicles, he's a good Joe and was only protecting his forest. Even though their insurance rates will go up, just be glad he didn't throw his poop at anyone, because gorillas are known to do that. After playing bumper cars with the 2,000-pound ape, Paxton meets the gorilla of his dreams, Jill Young, played by Charlize Theron, who is furiosa about all the poaching going on. And now that people have seen Joe, Paxton tells Jill if they don't take him to a wildlife preserve where he can be safe, it's game over, man. Game over. So it's off to the good old USA, where we get some character development and a romance, I guess. But let's be honest here, no one goes to a giant ape picture for the human characters. Plus, since Bill Paxton is 20 years older than Charlize Theron, she's Jill Young, alright. A little too Jill Young, if you catch my drift. Once Joe is settled into his new home, our villainous duo of Strasser and Garth,
Lord Garth!
see a report about the big palooka on TV and decide they can make a lot of monkey bread off Joe. Meanwhile, the managers of the park decide to showcase Joe at a fundraising event for all their rich pals. Fun fact, legendary stop-motion animator Ray Harryhausen and Terry Moore, who starred in the original 1949 Mighty Joe Young, have a short cameo as guests in this scene. Strasser and Garth,
Lord Garth!
throw a little monkey wrench into the evening by crashing the party, and after antagonizing Joe by jingling their little poacher keychains at him, he goes bananas, rampaging around like George from, well, Rampage. And while the chaos is entertaining, the film unfortunately had its own fair share of off-screen chaos as well. On July 2nd, 1997, director of photography Donald Peterman suffered a broken leg, ribs, and head injuries when the camera crane he and his cameraman were sitting on snapped while they were 25 feet in the air. Fortunately, no one was killed and they made a complete recovery. Back to the movie. After Joe's little outburst, he's put behind monkey bars awaiting execution. Just then, Strasser and Garth,
Lord Garth!
trick Jill into thinking they can take him to a preserve in Africa where he'll be safe. So they pull off a great ape escape, only to realize these turds were poachers the whole time. Fortunately, Joe breaks out of the truck and goes on a little adventure in the concrete jungle. Things get a little hairy for him when he tries to cross the street, which reminded me of Harry and the Hendersons, honestly. And after using some guerrilla tactics to avoid some police choppers, he heads off to the local fairgrounds for the big finale of the picture. After Jill and Joe's final meeting with Strasser comes to a shocking conclusion, true to form, movie parents just can't seem to keep track of their children, as little Jason is left alone on top of a burning Ferris wheel. This is bad enough, let alone the 3 unsupervised little girls who need to be rescued from a Ferris wheel in Star Kid, but without a doubt, the worst Movie Parents of the Year award has to go to the parents in Spider-Man movies who routinely leave their children in burning buildings. Get your crap together before you have kids, okay? With no time to monkey around, Joe climbs the burning death trap to save Jason from becoming a Kentucky Fried Youngling, jumping to safety in the nick of time. Luckily, his spine broke his fall, or the fall broke his spine, one of the two, leading to a few moments of sadness as we all fear the worst for the big palooka.
Monkey, monkey.
He's alive!
He's alive?
He's alive! He's alive! He's alive! He's alive! You idiot! You nearly gave me a heart attack. You happy?
After all of the emotions are over, everyone chips in like the ending of It's a Wonderful Life to pay for Joe's brand new home, and they all live happily ever after. Except for Strasser. He's dead. In the end, it is impossible for me to separate my own personal nostalgia from this film. As a youngling, I loved nature and animals, gorillas in particular, and the jungle always fascinated me and fired my imagination. So the concept of a giant animal living in secret always excited me, and at the time, the visual effects for this film were cutting edge. Up to this point, I had only seen creature suits or animatronic models that had limited range of motion, so seeing a giant ape running freely across the landscape completely wowed me as a youngster, because at the time, I had no idea how these effects were done. James Horner's music also had a huge impact on me in my youth, and the mix of percussion and his emotional melodies always touched a chord with me. There aren't many films I can say this about, but Mighty Joe Young can be distilled down to a single image for me personally. The shot of Joe running through the field on the trailers made me want to see the film, and to this day, when I see this shot, it makes me feel like a youngling again. I can honestly say it was one of the last movies I saw that had that special element of movie magic for me. It made me wonder, how did they do this? How did they create these images that I am seeing? And it made me want to learn more about the filmmaking process. So while the human characters are bland and the story is predictable, for the amazing creature suits by Rick Baker and his team at Cinovation Studios, the then groundbreaking CGI work by ILM, bringing a fully fleshed creature with fur to life on the big screen, years before the modern Planet of the Apes trilogy, for James Horner's emotional film score, and the sense of wonder and mystery the visuals of this film made me feel as a youngling. I give Mighty Joe Young a personal 4 out of 5 Death Stars, even though it probably deserves a technical 3. And while the Emperor is not as forgiving as I am, I say the Force is strong with this one. This has been Vader Reviews. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications, and follow me on Twitter at Vader Reviews. Join the Empire today. You do not yet realize your importance. Share these videos, and together we will rule the internet. And always remember, you don't know the power of the dark side.
Lord Garth.
As you wish.